All right, it's that favorite time of the year where we get to do some quarterback rankings. 2022 season is upon us, and there are some interesting conversations around the ACC and their quarterbacks. We know it's strong as hell, but who is the best? I've got AJ Black here from Locked On Boston College. He's going to give me why Phil Jurkovec might be underrated, or maybe it's Tyler Van Dyke who should rightfully wear the crown. You've got to tune in to figure out who's number one.
Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am with my friend AJ Black from Locked On Boston College, and we are getting through what should be a really fun conversation towards quarterbacks in the rankings here for the 2022 season. AJ, how we feeling?
Hey, I'm hanging in there. It's Wednesday, and it was a tough day on Tuesday, but I'm here to talk sports.
Yeah. 100%, man. It's hard out here. Like, it's tough. I always find it difficult to try and fake like everything's good in the world, especially when my job is very fun for me. But when the reality that life is not so fun out here right now, it's definitely difficult. But we'll try and make it through the best that we can. Shout out to all of the people just trying to get by right now, and thoughts and prayers are certainly with the victims of Texas elementary school. I believe it's Ross Elementary School or Robb Elementary School, who, sadly, senseless gun violence that I hope we can get some resolve here. It's just, we could have a whole show really about it, but we definitely want to bring some light towards people who are just trying to find a different outlet. And so quarterback rankings can be that, because ACC is full of good ones, and we're hoping that they can light up and bring some more good energy to what should be a better ACC football season. Well, at least that's what we're hoping. But we took a conversation from 24/7 Sports and decided to bring it here on Locked On ACC and rank 6 of our quarterbacks who, frankly, I don't know. I'm feeling the ways about some. I hate the fact that my school, North Carolina, is not even on the list. We don't have a quarterback in the conversation. We don't even know who our starting quarterback's going to be. I'm not stressed about it. I'm just, letting that be what it is. But I feel like AJ is always the person to bring to the table about some quarterback rankings and how we can get this done. So there's 6 that we're going to rank or just have a conversation about. And I'm going to let AJ start with number 6, who he has being the 6th quarterback in this conversation, who may be ready for the 2023 NFL draft.
So my lowest ACC quarterback, is that what we're looking at first?
Yes.
My lowest for me would be DJU on this list. Because, 247 had him as the 3rd ranked quarterback looking into the 2023 NFL draft. And
yeah,
I don't know. I've been arguing with my co-host on Monday, Mitch Wolf, about it, who's much more coming around on DJ. But I don't know. I just watched him play so much last year and not look confident, not look like he can really put together a passing attack. And I'm sure he had games where he did. I'm just saying from the games that I watched, and he just didn't look like that quarterback. Does he have the tools to do it? He's probably got more tools than any guy in this list today. But can he do it on the field? I still have major question marks about that, and I need to see him have a season. And hey, if a guy's going to have it, man, like, all the power to him, because he seems like a great kid, got a great story, would love to see him be successful. I am just at this point a little skeptical that he can do it.
Yeah, 1,000%. Listen, and there's reason for skepticism. I think what we thought was going to be Big Cinco's time to shine last year certainly did not matriculate into such. We saw the lack of receivers be one of the main hindrances for him, the lack of confidence, as you mentioned, being something that was certainly not what we were used to when we saw him play against Notre Dame in that big game, and stepping in for Trevor Lawrence when he had COVID. I was like, all right, when Cinco gets his time, we're just going to keep rolling them. That's what Clemson's going to be. And we finished the season with over 2,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. But his QBR was 43.2. And to me, tied for 99th with 9 touchdowns on the year is just, that's not what I'm feeling good about for Clemson Tigers, who are used to having one of the best quarterbacks in the country for years. So to have him be so low it's a little bit head scratching and concerning. And this year is definitely a make or break year for him, but it's also a make or break year for Clemson. So there's a lot of pressure. If there wasn't already last season trying to not be Trevor Lawrence, you're going into this season with a new offensive coordinator. Like, okay, well, was Tony Elliott the problem or was it you, my guy?
I'm telling you, the way that the transfer portal is working, I already know. My prediction, I'll throw it out there now, is that, as I said before, I think I've said it on the show, that DJ is going to make it a few games, going to struggle a little bit. They're gonna flip to the kid. They're gonna go to Cape Klubliak, and I think DJ, and it's not a bad thing, will not go into the 2023 draft and enter the transfer portal and try to find a fresh start somewhere. And that's not the worst thing for him, because I'd love to see him in a system that's not Clemson's, because it just seemed like last year, and they were trying to smash a square peg through a round hole, and it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this new offensive coordinator is going to do anything, but it's the same tree as Tony Elliott. So I worry that they're going to continue doing that. I'd love to see what he could do in a different system. And I don't know what that system would look like, but I just get this impression that if he does struggle, this will be his last year at Clemson, and it won't be the NFL. He'll be somewhere else in 2023.
Very interesting observation, and we'll definitely have to put the pin in that one, because I don't know. I think that DJ's either gonna, I agree, have a make or break season, or he's gonna be one of these guys that just maybe goes ahead and figures like, oh, I'll just find my way into the league, and somehow it'll just be Clemson's fault. Who knows? Who knows? But I digress. Yep. All right, next quarterback you have on your list out of these ACC quarterbacks.
I'm gonna go with Brennan Armstrong at number 5.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And if we're going with draft prospects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brennan Armstrong has all the gaudy stats that you want, but he has one major thing going against him. He's a lefty. And the NFL scouts hate lefty quarterbacks. And that's just going to push him down the rankings. And like, he could be the most gifted quarterback. There's just something about it. Maybe it's the blocking schemes, the way that they set up their plays. They don't like differences in quarterbacks like that.
For sure.
And so I think Armstrong could fall down. And he's a super talented player. And all these guys on this list, I mean, I'll keep my real thoughts on DJ at this point to myself. But all these other guys, like from here on out, have done a lot. And he is super talented and could really lift UVA on his shoulders. I just think that one stupid thing is going to hold him back in the NFL draft and push him down the rankings. So Brennan Armstrong's number 5 for me.
Yeah, well, listen, over 4,000 yards, finishing 4th on the season, and 31 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He also has a new head coach in Tony Elliott after the decision of Mendenhall to retire randomly, but, effective immediately. I think that, it's telling to see, well, if it wasn't DJ being the problem and it was Tony Elliott, that's going to be tough for Brennan Armstrong, who now has to take on the Elliott regime. So I'm feeling like Brennan Armstrong, I have confidence in him, but we also you didn't mention his injury that he had towards the end of the season. And I think we'll see if he bounces back and he's able to kind of get back on his feet, and whether or not he's able to kind of get past that on top of being a lefty.
Right. And
100%.
Yeah, and a couple of the guys on this list, they have like they've got good numbers, they can do a lot of things, but do they have that it factor that puts them over the top? And I'm not sure Armstrong has that. And some of the guys that we'll get to later have it. And even DJ has it. He has it there. It's just he's going to put other things together, right? Armstrong, I'm not sure he has it to get to that next NFL level.
No doubt. Well, we'll talk about another redhead assassin in just a bit, but this episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts stores to stock all the parts that you need. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend up to 50% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for more than 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. You can get almost everything that you need. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution for your car or your auto part needs. Go to Rock Auto right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Right locked on in there. How did you hear about us box? So they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliable low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. So we're talking to my good friend AJ Black here of Locked On Boston College, and we are talking about quarterback rankings taken from our friends at 24/7 Sports, who had a full list. We're talking about also CBS Sports, talking about 2023 draft, who could be one of the top quarterbacks in this conversation. We know that the ACC is fully loaded with that, so we have 6 quarterbacks that we're evaluating today, and we started with number 6 with DJ, and then we have Brennan Armstrong at number 5, and now at number 4, who we got?
So number 4 for me. Sorry, I had a mouthful of food during commercials. I was eating a Built Bar. We can get to that later. But awesome. 4 for me is Keaton Slovis for Pitt.
Okay, yeah.
This is going to be a big year for him. I love the matchup with him and Frank Cignetti, who was Boston College's offensive coordinator last year. I think he's a good quarterbacks coach, and when you have a good talent with him. And I think Keaton Slovis obviously is a former 5-star and very, very talented. Obviously losing Jordan Addison is going to be a big knock for him, but Pitt still has a really talented wide receiver room. And I think Slovis has a lot of talent in terms of a good arm, good decision-making. He was on some mediocre USC teams. Love to, just like what I was saying with earlier with DJU, like I want to see how this kid does in a new system. How he start. I get this impression he's going to have a big year. And if he does that, he's got the tools to be attractive to NFL teams.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, as a former 3-star prospect out of Arizona, USC was the first place that he started, but the new chapter for him with his 2 years of eligibility remaining, being at Pitt, it just seemed like a great way to segue to keep the high energy for Pitt, who just won the ACC. They're still looking for the Pickett times 2.0. Maybe that'll be Slovis, but you come in with a lot of pressure because Pitt, they love them some Kenny Pickett, right? Hometown kid who's now going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, it's hard to follow that act. However, you do have an opportunity to really make a name for yourself and kind of get that fresh blood or keep the momentum rolling because, they're known for having some really star-studded quarterbacks in Dan Marino and company. And so I think it's an exciting time for Coach Narduzzi to kind of get a rhythm and just really implant that whole Pitt's here, and it's not just a fluke, but we're also here to stay, right? So interesting how that dynamic
that offense is perfect. I think that offense is going to be perfect for him. And if he, a good season is going to really open some eyes for NFL scouts, I think.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So I'm excited to see kind of where he lands. But, of course, he's number 4. So clearly there's number 3 that you've got going. Who we got on that ranking?
So Devin Leary is number 3 for me. And
okay.
And yeah, my rankings are going to confuse you today. I promise you. I make things interesting. Devin Leary had one of the cleanest sheets, if you want to call it that, in college football last year, where you just threw for I think it was 35 touchdowns or something and 5 make a lot of mistakes. And I like that. I like that he's a smart quarterback. I like that he does a lot of things just well. He's not mistake prone. He doesn't make a lot of errors. My big question, if you're looking at NFL attractiveness, is kind of the same thing I said with Brennan Armstrong.
Yeah.
His decision making is definitely a plus, but are there other things that make him a plus? And I think he needs to have a big season again. Showcase his arm, showcases his ability to fences, his ability to avoid pressure, things like that. Again, another big year like that could really solidify himself. I think of Leary when I look at drafts, not as a top tier guy like Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are going to be those guys next year.
Yeah.
But a middle round. I think I could see him as a 4th round draft pick, but a guy that could hang around the NFL. So he's my number 3 in this group.
Yeah, I definitely think he's a sleeper pick and someone that you're going to get an immediate star, once you get him nice and into this. And he has to be at the right system. He, isn't the biggest guy in the room. He's not the tallest guy in the room, but definitely someone who works hard. I think after coming off the injury in 2020, finally getting that full, he is the starter. It's not Bailey Hawkman and him having to duel it out. You kind of saw him take off. And now this is, another season and opportunity for him to do just the same. And I'm really excited for him to have a good offense, returning wide receiving core. The running back issue might be something to just point out for NC State. But other than that, you've got guys that are fully integrated in that system. The loss of Ike Ekwonu is going to be how they, replicate that in terms of the offensive line. But overall, NC State's going to be doing well. You've got that rhythm and confidence. Now just back it up. That's my biggest thing. Like, you have all the tools to be successful and be great. You have the opportunity to win the Atlantic. Just damn it, do it. Like, let's not keep hyping them up and overhype. I overhyped Carolina last year and then I got upset. So I've been overhyping NC State and I don't want to be upset. I really do want them to do well because they deserve. So it's just high time that Devin Leary and team just figure out how to get 10 wins and we can keep it rolling. But that would make me have him as number one. But I get it. I get this is also the Boston College guy that I'm talking to. So it's fine. It's totally fine.
I'm taking this from the angle of where they fall in terms of NFL draft.
Okay. That's fine.
That's kind of how I'm looking at it. I mean, if I'm looking at quarterbacks heading into next year, he would be probably 1 or 2 for me.
Okay.
But my perspective on a quarterback is I'm looking at the draft. Where do these guys, kind of fall? Where the scouts are going to look for them, where they're going to be in 3 or 4 years. And for me, Leary falls at 3 for me for that. And, I think in terms of what he could do to the ACC next year, he's such a smart quarterback that I think no matter what he has for weapons around there, he's not going to make a ton of mistakes. Mm-hmm. And that is going to win NC State a lot of games. Just as you said, he is such a proficient quarterback that you have to be impressed by it. Does he do is he explosive? Is he a guy that can flip a game on its head? Probably not, but he does so many good things that it's hard to beat him because he's not going to let his mistakes lose games for him.
Oh, 1,000%. And, I think that when you talk about quarterback readiness, you happen to be a Patriots fan. And I'm not saying Mac Jones is terrible, but I think that, if you're looking for a quarterback home, that Devin Leary can certainly be that guy for you. Because we know Bill Belichick likes to, pick randomly. So Devin could definitely end up there.
Well, Mac Jones just got on sounds like the Tom Brady diet. I heard he got his belly off and he's in NFL shape now. I'm really
to
see what he can do with their ragtag group of wide receivers that they decided not to upgrade again.
Yeah, he's decided not to eat any more of those chop suey sandwiches. He said, I got to eat the lettuce and
exactly.
He's apples and
his avocado. Maybe he's going to start the avocado ice cream that Tom Brady was on.
Oh, gross. That sounds disgusting. In other news, our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all of your sports betting needs and information. If you're trying to bet on any of these quarterbacks going into next season, we strongly encourage you to hit up betonline.ag. Whether you think these teams are going to win you an ACC championship, or maybe you just feel like they're going to win you a couple ACC games throughout the season, hit up BetOnline for any sports wagering information, live betting, playoffs, or esports, or more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline is where the game starts. So we're wrapping up here with AJ Black of Locked On Boston College. And of course, we got to go through our top 2 ACC quarterbacks who are most NFL draft ready. We've had this conversation for a while now, but it's now great to put it on some thoughts out here in the universe. Number 2, who you got, AJ?
There's my Jurkovec right there. I'm putting Phil at number 2.
Okay. And even with the wrist injury, you still feel strongly about him.
As the number 2 quarterback, yes, because for me, he's got a few things. And again, I put him at number 2 in terms of ACC quarterbacks on this list for next year. Sam Hartman, if is not on this list because we're looking at NFL draft ready, and I don't think Hartman's going to go until 24. Mm-hmm. It seems like he's been there forever, but Jurkovec. His injury is worrisome, and it was I think it was hand injury. I don't think it was wrist.
Okay.
I think he broke his hand. But I watching and covering him, he has some major things that I think could be game changing for Boston College and make him really, really attractive. First of all,
his size.
His size, absolutely enormous. He takes, and this is what's caused him to get hurt a few times, is that he takes 6 guys to get him down. He's athletic. He can move. He can run. He comes more from the style. People compare him to Big Ben. They're both Pittsburgh guys. But I think Jurkovec is a little smaller and a little quicker. You can see a little bit of that, but he can move. and he's explosive. And I think that's what you didn't get to see last year with his injury is he can bomb some, like he can turn a game on its head in one play more than a lot of the quarterbacks on this list. Number one, I think is going to be more explosive, but we'll get to him in a second.
Sure.
But I think Jurkovec has the best arm in the ACC. Not the most accurate, but the biggest. he can uncork. And when you have a guy like Zay Flowers out there catching it, and he's now that Jordan Addison's gone, he's arguably the best wide receiver in the ACC.
Yeah.
That makes Jurkovec a very, very dangerous quarterback as long as he stays healthy. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think Josh Downs is the best wide receiver in the ACC, but I don't know who his quarterback is this year. So, there's that.
I mean, yeah, it's all up to talk. I still think I'm very partial to, and
it's easy to be.
If you want to listen to my podcast, I have my bumper with Zay saying, "This is Zay Flowers. You're listening to Locked On BC," which made me very excited when I got that.
Love that. That's awesome.
But I think he's going to be dangerous. And I think the combination of the two makes Jurkovec a very dangerous quarterback in the ACC this year. NFL teams look at all these things as long as he can stay healthy. And I feel like I'm a robot on my podcast talking about that. Like, yeah, he's not getting respected. Well, he's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy. And that's a big question mark, right?
Yeah.
But if he does together 12 games this year, put up the numbers that he's capable of doing while healthy, I think NFL teams are going to be drooling. And I've seen a lot of mock drafts that have him as a first round draft pick. I've seen high as like 13.
Damn.
And yeah, so he could be right after the CJ Bryce Youngs on the quarterback list for next year.
Well, the best ability is availability at the end of the day. And I think that, one-off years, you can have some injury. I don't think that he's injury prone to the point where they're like, all right, let's figure it out. But, I think this is the year. This is the time you have a really good wide receiver at the helm with you. You have a coach who's very much needing to have a prove-it year. So if there was ever a time for Boston College collectively to make a leap, this is the time.
Slide, Phil, slide.
I've had that I hate quarterbacks that do that. Like, I'm like, please, for your own safety, please.
I've had that conversation with so many different people where but they're like, it's in his DNA. He has to do that. I'm like, yeah, but when he's on the outside and you're being held up by like a linebacker and you're just like fighting for 6 inches, just go down, please. So I think that will be a big honestly, it's like a stupid thing, but like this new offensive coordinator that Boston College has, can they teach Phil Jurkovec, like, when's a good time to get hit? When is it not? Because it's these stupid injuries that happen because he down that have kind of hurt him and caused him to miss quite a few games.
Yeah, 1,000%. That used to be my biggest hiccup with Sam Howell. I'm like, this kid has to figure out how to slide so quickly, or it's going to be lights out for him. And mind you, he got, ripped to shreds for, reasons of having a horrible offensive line. But thank you, Giants, for choosing 2 of those guys. That's neither here nor there. I'm not bitter about it. No, don't worry about it. But, I really think it's so important to learn the basics and the fundamentals of protecting yourself and your body. But I digress. Number 1, who is the best quarterback? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Van Dyke. So again, the list that we're going off of on 247 does not have Sam Hartman on there. So I want to make sure that you folks out there and Malik
Forest fans aren't growing crazy, or the Louisville fans.
Yeah, and Malik Cunningham. I mean, if you thought I was rough on DJ, get a little rough on Malik too.
Malik is just he's a great runner.
Exactly.
But that's not what's required of a quarterback.
Right. And he's good. I want to see more out of him. And he's an honorable mention, and I'm not going to rip him because he is exciting to watch. So I'm not going to say that, right?
Yeah.
But Tyler Van Dyke, I hate this, but I'm buying the hype. I am buying the hype here for this guy.
All right, Miami people, are you excited? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I think with Mario Cristobal, who is one of the best quarterbacks coaches in the country, with him there, they have retooled like crazy on the coaching staff and through the transfer portal. I think Tyler Van Dyke is going to have a lot to work with there. And he doesn't even need that because he's got the physical tools to really be an elite quarterback in the NCAA. And I think that makes him the best quarterback in the NCAA. And we just did a read for BetOnline. I was on my show yesterday and I gave, I was going over the over-unders, and one of my picks for over on BetOnline, who I think was 8.5.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, put over on that one. So I did that. And if you're curious, I picked BC over at 6.5, and then I picked under on Clemson at 10.5.
Well, damn.
I think.
Okay.
Well, Clemson's got Miami, Notre Dame, Florida State, Wake Forest. They've got a lot of teams.
Scrubs.
Yeah, they only need to lose 2 games for you to win that bet.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. To me, this seems like easy money, but I'm getting off on a wicked bad tangent here. We're not talking about betting. We're talking about Tyler Van Dyke.
Yes, the Wicked. It finally came out. We love Boston. Go ahead.
Yeah,
New England.
Oh God, I didn't even realize I did it. See, I did theater in college, and my theater director beat the Boston accent out of it. But when I get tired, sometimes it just comes flying out, and the Wickeds and the R's get dropped. And
my teammate was from Methuen, and she'd be like, "Wicked good bi," and I'd be like, "All right, okay, well, sure."
Yep. So, anyways, Tyler Van Dyke.
Yes.
I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be a very attractive NFL candidate for next year. I'm interested to see how long. I mean, it's only his first true full year with Miami. Will he stick around? I mean, obviously, if he gets first round grades before he gets evaluated, he's going to leave. But I think he has it in him to be the most the most critical quarterback in the ACC for their team. If he has a big year, Miami's going to win the Coastal.
Yeah. And listen, they know how to find the money in Miami, so it ain't like he's going to be hurting for NIL deals or anything like that. So he could be getting paid. So I feel like if he doesn't get the evaluation that he wants, it does not hurt to be the man in Miami, especially if you're the man who brings Miami back. Good Lord. You want to talk about not being able to buy a beer in Coral Gables? That'll definitely be his conversation going into next season if he does well. But I love rankings. I love having the opportunity to talk with you about them. The more we find, the more we'll spew out throughout the summer because it'll be fun. Why not?
Absolutely.
AJ, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Can you please remind folks of where they can find you and all of your work?
You can find me at Chop Suey Sandwich on Twitter.
Probably.
You can find me. We're getting weeks away here, Candace. July 4th weekend, as long as COVID doesn't go crazy. I'm going to a 4th of July barbecue. I will have those. I will tweet them at AJ Black_BC. Heck, you might even get a video of me eating one or two. I'll scarf those things down.
Okay.
You guys can all get sick watching me. So at AJ Black_BC. I'm also the host of Locked On Boston College. We talk Boston College sports. And I've been talking a lot of ACC stuff too, but with a BC focus at Locked On BC on Twitter as well. Thank you.
Of course. Now, guys, make sure you come back on Thursday. We're going to have a little conversation with just me, myself, and I as we get ready for more ACC football. Excited to just talk about some of the teams, how they're doing, where they're bringing in a couple rankings, and who, has been scouting, recruiting, doing all the likes. So make sure you check that out. Then Freestyle Friday with Jersey Drake. Who knows what we'll talk about there. It'll be up for the air, but it'll be fun as always. Make sure you guys also check out Locked On in an NBA draft, less than 30 days away. Got Rafael Barlow and the big boards. We know it's going to be a great conversation whenever he gets on the mic. And then you also got your conference shows. You got to check them all out, all 5 of the power ones. We get things rolling around here on the Locked On Podcast Network. For Candace Cooper and AJ Black, we hope you guys have a great Wednesday. Until next time.